So just having your financial plan and understanding how the pieces are going to work together to make the big picture, it brings a peace of mind to our clients.
Welcome back to the Moore's Financial Concepts podcast. Today we're going to talk about money memories and financial well-being. How are they related, and can money buy happiness? Laura, can you tell us what money memories are?
Money memories are a collection of our experiences around money, our experiences with money throughout our whole lifetime. And it could be things that you experienced as a child, watching your parents go through. It could be things that you experience as a young adult, and even things you experienced just last year. But all these money memories accumulate throughout your lifetime. And what they do is they shape your attitudes and beliefs and your behaviors around your money.
So how can reflecting on these memories help do those things? How can they change your attitudes and beliefs around money and your financial habits?
That's a great question. So, what we find, what studies find, is there's this connection with when you are reflecting back on your money memories and you're having the self awareness of some of the money memories and things that may have contributed to you making good decisions around money. And it could be that, for example, you were taught from one of your grandparents how to use credit cards responsibly. And that conversation that you had with that particular family member had an influence on you, and you therefore have these healthy habits with credit cards. So it's just that recollection of having connected that memory and knowing that's why you're making some good decisions. It helps you have a healthier grasp on your how you handle your finances. And the same thing goes on the other side of the coin. Let's say you grew up in a family where you watched a parent go through a divorce, and one of those divorces that landed that financially crippled one of your family members or your mom or your father, that'll have an influence and an impact on your attitudes and beliefs around money. And so sometimes as we get older, or we're coming upon making a financial decision, we might have a level of fear and anxiety. But if you could reflect on your money memories and realize that the roots of that anxiety and fear is rooted in an experience you had, that self-awareness is it's powerful. It helps you recognize what it is that's going on with those feelings, where they're coming from, and that self-awareness is the first step for you to make positive change. And it could be the first step that helps you get over that hurdle, because those fears and levels of anxiety, they could get in the way of you completing your goal, or slowing you down. So the recognition of the resilience of things that we are able to overcome, those good experiences, bad experiences, just being able to reflect on those and acknowledge them and be aware of them helps our overall levels of happiness and satisfaction and understanding of our financial behaviors.
What happenstance factors can shape your perspective on money and maybe your appetite for risk?
Yeah, that's another good question. So we talk about in life, and you always hear people say, hard work is the road to success. It takes hard work, and we all know it does. But sometimes it's just random luck of the situation that you land in that can shape where you are today. So let's take, for example, let's look at a period of time like the Great Depression. And during the times of the Great Depression, a lot of American families lost their home, lost their wealth. They were living on minimal means for a very long time. And anybody who still has family members or that talk about the Great Depression, and we have a couple of clients in our 90s, and we have clients that we work with, people that are getting ready to retire, that have parents that still are heavily influenced by watching their family adapt through the times of the Great Depression. And you'll see things such as a little bit of fear around money, maybe some ideas of being frugal, which, saving money is not bad. And, having a good sense of saving isn't, and being frugal is not a bad thing. But there's these levels of fear sometimes, frugality, there's these levels of scarcity sometimes that you'll see. And you could really root it back to maybe if you're born in that era of the Great Depression. With most American families, you can't help but to have that heavily influence the lens that you see money, that you Yeah, and it makes sense. And Richie, I know you probably have family members that you could directly see the impact that the Great Depression had on how they were taught about money and how to use their
Oh yeah,
resources.
my grandmother is a classic example of that. I mean, she's an amazing saver. I mean, she's done
Mhm.
well for herself because of it, but she's obsessed. She's super frugal, you know.
Right, right. And some of those see and that money memory that she has or that association with the Great Depression, it's allowed her to learn the importance of savings. But then there's probably some a little bit of fear that's more than she needs to have. But it's that awareness that that's linked directly to that era. And that wasn't anything she did. That was just the luck of when she was born or her family member was born into. And then also in any given time era, you have families like during the Great Depression, the Kennedys, the Chryslers, the Boeing family. None of those families experienced the Great Depression the way we read it in history books or the way some of our family members did. Their family wealth actually grew through the time during the time of the Great Depression. As a matter of fact, their lens and perspective, shapes, and beliefs around money were unaffected. It might as well have been any other day for them. And so it's shocking the difference. And that is, a little bit about happenstance, the family you're born into, the era you're born into. One of my favorite stories about happenstance is the Bill Gates story. I don't know, have you heard about Bill Gates and the high school he went to? So Bill Gates went in 1968. He went to a school in Seattle, and it was Lakeside High. And at the point in 1968, Lakeside High in all the high schools in Seattle happened to be the only school that had a computer. There was a teacher that taught there, and he was a retired pilot, and he convinced the mother's fundraising team to give $3,000 for the purchase of a computer. And he wanted the school that he taught at to have one. And they bought a computer. Bill Gates and his best friend, Paul Allen, became obsessed with this machine. They tinkered with it, played with it all the time, and it was the only school in Seattle that had a computer. And it happened to be the same school Bill Gates went to. And we know who Bill Gates is today and what came of that and how much of that is happenstance with his success. And of course, we know how brilliant he is. Perhaps he would have went on to tinker with computers elsewhere down the road, but you can't help but to
Timing is
wonder.
everything, isn't it? You know, maybe he wouldn't have learned it until it was already more people were playing with it. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we reflect on our life's history, every one of us has had this happenstance situation of being in a certain place at a certain time and knowing that the impact that that moment had.
Wow. All right. So, how does Morris Financial Concepts incorporate money memories into financial planning with your clients?
Yeah, we do. I know we talked a little bit in a previous video about our life planning exercises that we do with clients. And within our financial planning, we have discussions around money memories. And it's important to us that we have these conversations with our clients and we use specific tools to help engage and provide framework for these conversations. But really, it gives us an opportunity to really learn about how our clients got to where they are today.
Hmm.
Um, it helps us understand their appetite for risk. It helps us understand a little bit more about their emotional and gut reasoning. For every big decision we make and a lot of our financial decisions that we make, there's two big spheres that are going on when we're making our decisions. And for everybody, every individual person has their own unique reality reference point that they use when making decisions. And how that comes to be is that we have this sphere that we call, let's think of that as the emotional sphere, your gut, your gut instinct.
Okay.
And then there's this whole nother sphere that comes into play, and it's called the rational mind. And
Mm.
that's where all the data is. And as financial planners, we work with a lot with the data. So the numbers, all that is in this rational mind sphere. And then you have this emotional gut sphere. Where these two spheres connect, that is every person's unique, realistic reference point for decision making. So as financial planners, we listen and we hear and talk to our clients about their money memories because we want to get some insight to that emotional sphere. We're good at the data. We know the rational mind. We know
Yeah.
the numbers. We want to know a little bit about that emotional, the gut sphere so that we can have more insight to what their reality and point of reference is for decision making. That helps us make better recommendations for them. It helps us understand their risk tolerance. And we use those tools and we find that it helps us connect better with our clients by having these discussions.
Awesome. All right. Speaking of emotions, have you ever bought anything because everyone else seemed to have it?
Yes, and I think we've all been guilty of that. And how do we not in this day and age when we have things like social media where we're seeing the highlight reel of everybody's life? So there's this phenomenon called mimetic desires, and it's that word mimic. And so what mimetic desires are, they're the it's when you're influenced by external observations. So, for example, you could find that we're perfectly happy with our current life. We're perfectly happy with our new car that maybe we just bought and saved so long for. But we'll find that maybe we buy a car and then you see that everybody on social media or all your friends are buying the fancier sports car. And then all of a sudden you look at that car that you loved just 2 weeks ago and you start to want something different.
For
And
sure.
and and we're all influenced by that. And sometimes if we're not careful, we find ourselves jumping the gun and actually acting on things that maybe we otherwise wouldn't have even thought of. And again, going into it, we were perfectly happy before, and all of a sudden we're just influenced by these external influences.
So, how does someone fight these desires?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it goes back to helping people and helping ourselves have an authentic relationship with our money. So it's having discussions around values, priorities, and goals. And so when you align your resources with your priorities, values, and goals, then you're less likely to fall victim to external influences because you're guided by that authentic reality or your authentic relationship with your resources.
So, how does Moore's financial concepts, when you're using life planning and integrating it with financial planning, help with these external influences?
Yes, so that's another great question. We spend a lot of time with our clients working through values, goals, priorities. We have a lot of discussions about what how our clients really want to see their resources used. We have tools. Our founder, Kira Morris, has developed some wonderful tools around legacy planning, and we have these rich meetings with a lot of information with our clients that we learn so much from them about their legacy and really the life you live is the legacy you leave.
Mhm.
So we talk to our clients about, what who are the people in your family or in your community in your world that you care about the most? What do you want to provide for them? What necessities do you want to leave behind for them, or do you want to give them during your living years? And we find, for example, some of our clients have set up or have plans to set up a trust that's for education funding because they think that education is very important. And therefore, I want to make sure everybody in my family for generations to come doesn't have to worry about school loans.
Sure.
And so we talk about what's important to our clients, what values they have, what they want to pass on to their families, and also we talk about causes that are important to them. So we have these discussions about, do you want to gift now while you're alive and see all the greatness that comes from your gifts, or is it something that you want to leave upon your passing? So we have those discussions where we help our clients have these authentic relationships with their money. And again, a lot of that has to do about the life planning and then also about our legacy planning piece.
So, how can budgeting and financial planning contribute to a happier life?
So, Richie, you probably know every financial planning piece of the puzzle for your financial plan. You know every insurance policy you have, every account. You know about your retirement account, what retirement accounts your wife has. But
Yeah.
what you may have not seen, and a lot of people, unless they're working with a financial planner, may have not seen is how all those pieces of the puzzle can come together to paint a picture. And for financial planning, we help our clients put all the pieces of the puzzle and help them understand how they all work together and put it into one big picture for them. And what that does is having that picture just presented back to somebody, it relieves so much anxiety around their finances. And it's like that concept of a lot if we think about fear and we think about anxiety, a lot of it's rooted in just things that we maybe don't understand or don't know. So just having your financial plan and understanding how the pieces are going to work together to make the big picture, it brings a peace of mind to our clients, just seeing it, um, and how it's going to work. And also, when it comes to budgeting, what is also really powerful is cash flow planning, because when you start to see where your dollars are going and understanding where you're spending money and what levers you could dial down on if you needed to, those things, that information there is so powerful also to help give clients some peace of mind and a general healthier outlook on their financial, their feelings around money.
Well, how about the relation between money and happiness where on different income levels? How can that be? How is that affected?
Yeah, so there's a lot of studies that have been done. Matter of fact, back in 2010, Princeton did a study on connecting salary levels, income levels with happiness. And back then, their study came down to it was at about $80,000 that they saw people start to plateau,
I
levels
remember
of.
seeing that.
Do
Yeah.
you remember hearing about that? Well, recently, University of Pennsylvania did their own study, and it of course changed, and now it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. But ultimately, it wasn't about the salary. What it was about the flexibility that came with having that extra income.
Yes.
So it was more about, just again, they what they dove into was that it's not just about the salary, but it's what you do with the money and what it provides for you. So new studies and other studies about happiness and money, there's other studies that show that with the higher income, it could be that you had the flexibility to save more money, and they find that people who have extra stashes of cash, like a fully funded emergency fund, tend to be happier. And if you think about it, it's because you're not worried about the unexpected. Hey, if my tires blow tomorrow, my car breaks down, I've got my emergency fund. I feel secure. It's that sense of security that comes with that. So it wasn't so much salary, it was just the flexibility that the extra income gave you to be able to have maybe some extra resources to weather through the unexpected and the storms.
Hmm. Are there particular types of purchases that bring more happiness than others?
Yes, the same studies that dive into money and happiness. There was a study done, and it was done by Harvard, and they followed individuals through their whole lives. And they do a reflection, and they talk to people that are well into their retirement years about looking back. What is it that brought you the most happiness? And it was experiences and connections with family members, friends, communities. It was a sense of community that brought people happiness. So when you think about that and you bring that back to your resources and your money, it's those experiences that you buy, those connections that you make. For example, a lot of my family's in California, so it costs me money to get to them. So it could be it's that idea of those shared experiences, that family vacation, that connection that you make to go see that person that you said you always want to keep in touch with. It takes money sometimes to make these things happen,
Sure.
to have these shared experiences. But typically, if you're spending your money on those things and aligning your resources with your values and priorities, it's those kinds of things and those kinds of purchases that are going to bring you more happiness.
What about the role of generosity and charity giving in your overall sense of happiness?
Yeah, so that goes back to aligning your resources to living your best life. So, and generosity could be, it's not always, about charitable or being, charitable funding. It could be just what you're able to provide for your family members and the people that you love. And it comes back to aligning your money in a way that if you align your money to your values and to your priorities and the causes that mean the most to you, then we really see situations in which your life will light up just by making that connection and using your money towards the things that you feel are most important and those causes that have the most meaning to you.
So, can money buy happiness?
No, no, ultimately that's not what the studies show. It's not money that buys you happiness. Instead, it's the way you're using your money. For example, money can buy you time. Think about, all of us are It's just we're going from one thing to another. And Richie, you alone, I mean, how many hats are you wearing? You're a husband, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a son, you're a business owner. I mean, it's endless amounts of hats that we're wearing. So
Sure.
money may give you the flexibility to buy yourself time. So it could be that you pay somebody to come and clean your house, once every 2 weeks so that you have time to go enjoy other things. So it's how you use your money and how you use your resource. So money can buy you time. The other thing is money can buy you experiences. Memories appreciate over time. You know, that vacation that you took your kids on last summer, it's a fresh memory for you, and you probably think fondly upon that vacation. 20 years from now, you'll continue to think fondly, but not only will you think fondly about that vacation, but those memories will appreciate in time. So money, no, while it can't buy you happiness, if you use your resources to do the things you want to do with the people you want to do it with, when you want to do it, for as long as you want to do it, then you'll probably be pretty happy.
Great answer. Laura, it's great having you back. Looking forward to having you back on the show again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Richie.
You're
Happy to
welcome.
be here.